Mario Kart Double Dash. Easily the most underrated entry in the Mario Kart series, and the main reason for that was its excellent selection of tracks. Split across 4 cups, each one is memorable and unique. But which are the best? Which are, say, the top 5? Let's count them down. Number 5, Wario Colosseum. The first race of the Special Cup, Wario Colosseum, is so epic it only has 2 laps instead of 3. Dominated by a central downward spiral and featuring 2 massive boost jumps, it's the closest thing in Double Dash to a roller coaster. Albeit a roller coaster you can fall off of at almost every turn. I regret nothing! Number 4, the second track of the Special Cup, coincidence, honest, Dino Dino Jungle. Who can honestly say they don't love dinosaurs? Dinosaurs rule, and in Dino Dino Jungle, they also stamp and bite while you zip past them. Hello, dinosaur, get out of my way, please. Oh, and as if a dinosaur weren't enough, you've also got to get around an endless torrent of explosive geezers, as well as one of the trickiest corners in the game. Pause it! This one right here. It's such a tricky one. Makes a good sound, though. Number 3, the third track of the Star Cup, Yoshi's Circuit. First of all, this track is laid out in the shape of Yoshi. Just look at that. That alone would get it on this list, but as it turns out, the side profile of our favourite rideable dinosaur also makes for a really good course to race around. Who knew? A kinetic mix of straights and turns, there's also some perilous shortcuts to exploit, this one here, and this one here. Throw in the death trap that is the tunnels, and you have a good time worthy of the character himself. Just watch out for the piranha plants. Number 2, the third race in the Flower Cup, Daisy Cruiser. Ah yes, Daisy Cruiser. The track for the character who has no discernible character? But regardless of whose face was slapped on the side of it, this humongous ship is truly an affordable ocean getaway, jam-packed with variety, obstacles, and fun for the whole family. There's a swimming pool, a dining room, look out! And then this big open pit thing. What more could you want? It's not just good, it's one of the best. But no, not quite the best. That would be number 1. It's the final track of the Star Cup, DK Mountain. How could we resist DK Mountain? The king of the jungle is the king of Mario Kart Double Dash, and it's almost all thanks to one feature, the cannon. This bad boy shoots you to the top of a mountain, and from here you rocket down the stony slope, around twisting hairpins, and across one hell of a rickety bridge, before going back in the cannon and doing it all over again. Few tracks in Mario Kart history are this thrilling, or even just this nice to look at. It's been the inspiration for many awesome tracks in the franchise ever since, but we think it's definitely worth going back to the one that started it all. And there we have it, the 5 greatest tracks from Mario Kart Double Dash. Do you agree with our list? Well, there are 11 more that could have been contenders, so if you don't, that's fair enough. We could have easily gone for tracks like Luigi Circuit, simple but deadly, or maybe Baby Circuit and its 7 laps of mayhem. And you've always got to consider Rainbow Road, horrible pain goddess though it may be. The whole thing is just boosts, boosts and death edges. Damn you, Rainbow Road!
Inspired by New York, Liberty City has become one of gaming history's most infamous open worlds. The true spiritual home of the Grand Theft Auto series, it was here that we first experienced the controversial gameplay of the franchise back in 1997. Since then, Liberty City has transformed from a primitive 2D playground into one of the most realistic worlds in gaming history. Here's our guide to its evolution. Based upon a variety of major US cities, but predominantly the Big Apple, Liberty City is split into several islands reminiscent of several genuine New York boroughs, such as Queens, Manhattan, and the Bronx. This means that despite graphical and stylistic differences, every incarnation of Liberty City is punctuated by spoofs and parodies of genuine New York locations, with Middle Park replacing Central Park, New Jersey becoming New Guernsey, and the iconic MetLife skyscraper transformed into the eye-catching Getter Life in GTA 4. Each version of Liberty City also shares a high crime rate, while the city is set within the same universe as other Rockstar open worlds such as Bully's Bullworth and Manhunt's Carcer City. Originally known as Race and Chase before adopting its headline-grabbing final name, Grand Theft Auto's rebellious attitude and unique open-world gameplay made it an impossible game to ignore. Despite the primitive 2D top-down visuals, Liberty City immediately stood out with its unprecedented freedom. Within this believable urban metropolis, players could interact with payphones to take on criminal jobs and drive any vehicle they wanted. The series might have been detached from the edgy realism of later entries, but the geography of Grand Theft Auto's New York was the closest to the real layout of the Big Apple, with the overhead map resembling that of the real city. The freedom and open nature of GTA's gameplay was deeply influential on other games, with titles such as Driver developing 3D worlds inspired by Liberty City. However, it would be Rockstar themselves who truly evolved GTA with Grand Theft Auto 3 in 2001, returning to Liberty City now reborn as a three-dimensional open world with unprecedented detail. Still inspired by New York, this iteration of Liberty City differed heavily from that seen in the original, now featuring more artistic differences from its real-world counterpart. This was an open world with more detail, freedom, and artistry than ever seen in gaming history, making Rockstar's second iteration of Liberty City a groundbreaking open world that would influence countless games. With rival titles such as True Crime and Saints Row taking inspiration from GTA 3's Liberty City, Rockstar would need to take the series in a bold new direction with its next trip back to the crime-plagued metropolis.
10 separate meals, 10 separate trips to the chip shop, in a cab. Didn't even walk that. Wasted calories.
Released to a frenzy of hype in 2008, Grand Theft Auto 4 saw Rockstar returning to the open world that defined the series. This time, things were even more ambitious, with Rockstar setting out to create the most realistic world ever seen in gaming, with a Liberty City that perfectly emulated modern-day New York. Continuing their reputation for evolving the open-world sandbox, the third version of Liberty City is a living, breathing city, filled with unique citizens with programmed trajectories and recognized landmarks dissected with Rockstar's trademark satire.
I now pronounce you husband and wife.
From the cartoonish anarchism of Grand Theft Auto to the gritty realism of Grand Theft Auto 4, Liberty City remains one of the most important open worlds in gaming. We may have seen it evolve throughout the years, but each rendition of Liberty City is united by Rockstar's ambition to place players within a world that's utterly immersive, making it no surprise that each and every incarnation of Liberty City is still worth visiting.
There's a lot that can be said about Nintendo's darling Shigeru Miyamoto. He's been responsible for many of the best-selling games in the company's history. But what makes him tick? Well, using Pikmin as a jumping-off point, we're presenting you with a guide to Miyamoto's inspirations. Hold on, this could be a weird one. The Pikmin series begins with the alien Olimar taking a cruise through the stars on a space vacation. However, it's tragically cut short when his ship is forced to crash land on a strange planet, breaks into different pieces, and Olimar's forced to gather them up again within 30 days. If he fails, his life support will cut out and he'll be another snack for the planet's monsters. Olimar soon comes across the near-extinct Pikmin species, who you'll need to master commanding if you want to leave alive. We'll be looking at what inspired this classic later, but for now, we're going to quickly run down some of the other famous non-Mario titles Miyamoto has created and see where he gets his mad inspiration from. Like all greats, the first ideas come from childhood, and Miyamoto was no different. When exploring in the forests where he lived, he discovered a cave, which after several visits, he resolved to explore. Gathering a lantern and slowly entering the cave was an experience that fixed itself so firmly in his memory that he created and developed the Legend of Zelda series as a result. That's right, princess-saving adventures loved around the world and back were all a result of a small boy's curiosity about hidden caverns in a forest. So, what inspired the cute critters known as the Pikmin then? Well, weirdly enough, they were created after Miyamoto gained a passion for gardening in his spare time. The large grassy worlds and the plant-like appearance of the little alien creatures were all inspired by Miyamoto getting down and dirty with a shovel and some seeds. Goes to show there's nothing wrong with a bit of green fingers after all, especially seeing as it's given our thumbs so much delight in the form of Pikmin. Now, if only we could inspire him to find a way to make them real. Flowers weren't the only thing that Miyamoto was inspired by looking after, as the Nintendo DS delight known as Nintendogs was created after the eccentric inventor bought a dog and started taking him to training lessons. The social aspects that encourage you to interact with other dogs as well as train them up to be more obedient were all inspired by those lessons, showing us that maybe you can teach an old dog new tricks after all. Sorry about that joke, that was rubbish, by the way. We're going to be in the doghouse for that. Oh, forget it. So we've had caves, gardening and pets. What else could possibly inspire the man? Well, how about the bathroom scales? Miyamoto's fascination with them and the way people use them as an incentive to lose weight was what sparked off his desire to help create Wii Fit. The game helps people to think more consciously about their diet and exercise routines, and the controller is even modelled to resemble those same scales that gave the man the idea. Though with Suda51's No More Heroes, it's not the only game inspired by trips to the bathroom. So what can we expect from him in the future, apart from that Pikmin 3 thing we're all desperate to get our hands on? Well, none of us are allowed to know anymore, apparently. Turns out Miyamoto's ideas are so influential to the success of their games that Nintendo have banned him from talking about his hobbies in interviews anymore. That's just in case he accidentally ends up revealing their next masterpiece or someone else steals his thoughts and makes the next blockbuster using his inspirations. If we read minds and stole his ideas for our own, we'd be rich. That's all we have, but we'll leave you with an inspirational quote from the legend himself. Video games are bad for you. That's what they said about rock and roll. Let's hope he keeps making us smile for years to come. It's pretty much a given at this point that Star Wars is awesome, with the trilogy, trilogies, heading to Blu-ray and new games, comics and novels hitting the shelves at a constant rate. In honour of the brilliance that is this epic sci-fi pop culture masterpiece, I'm taking a look back at one of our favourite additions to the series. It's Star Wars Battlefront 2. Here's a review. Following the greatly enjoyable Star Wars Battlefront 1, Star Wars Battlefront 2 actually comes with a story. Unlike the chronologically ordered battles of its predecessor, Battlefront 2 puts you in the shoes of a mystery stormtrooper from the 501, reading off his memoirs at the end of a long and grizzled career. Of course, said career covers all the major points in the Star Wars lore, from the formation of the Clone Army through to the 501st time as the Vader's first tactical unit. Having a retrospective narrative running through is a nice touch. We all know what happens in Star Wars. It's an added bonus to see it all from a different perspective. You get to live out all of the biggest battles from Star Wars history, and it is glorious.
Good luck, Cadet, and may the Force be with you.
Being split between two different sagas, you get to play as a whole multitude of characters. Within the two different time periods are the Separatists facing off against the Galactic Republic before it rolls around to the Galactic Empire against the Rebel scum. It's alright, that was just Palpatine's pet name for them, and you're on his side here, so best stick with it. The different classes within each faction add the usual multiplayer breakdown. There is the straightforward soldier, heavy weapons, engineer and sniper. You know them, you know what they do, and you know how they play. But now, they're in Star Wars. There's something about laser battles and jetpacks that brings a feeling of geeky warmth over me. Of course, a Star Wars game wouldn't be complete without all those lovely backdrops. Yeah, when you're not shooting things up with your blaster, you're probably waiting to respawn. Or you've been distracted by the surprisingly good-looking for the PS2 backdrops. It's all woodland planets, industrial moons and mystical-looking cities. So, everything you'd expect, really. The space sections are equally impressive. Piloting X-Wings against giant starships makes a nice change to fighting Separatists in a forest. And downloadable content has since added my favourite ever location, the Cloud City. Plus, open modding allows people to create whatever battlegrounds they want. In the gameplay department, Battlefront 2 never really surpassed Battlefront 1. A few of the bugs were ironed out and new features were added. I'll get to those later. At the end of the day, though, the gameplay was solid enough the first time round that revolutionising it just wasn't necessary. They gave Star Wars fans a game where two sides charge into war against each other. Extra characters, levels and powers were all that was ever necessary. The addition of Jedis to the mix was of course met with rapturous applause. Then people saw them in play and interest was lost. Battlefront is about stormtroopers, rebels and quick easy shooter action. It delivers by the sackload. Finally, a quick nod to the gimmicks of this beloved game from my archive. Battlefront has always been about the multiplayer. Whether slaughtering bots or jumping online to face other real-life people, the fun is in teaming up with your mates. The new features and added Jedis all perked up the package, but it's the open modding tools released for the fans to start recreating unused levels or just inventing some new ones that made Battlefront 2 what it was. So there you have it, folks, a quick review of one of my favourite games in just over 4 minutes. It's hard to compress something you love into short spaces of time, but in reality, Star Wars Battlefront 2 could be summed up with just a few words. It's giant Star Wars battles that you play. Done.